Hey, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina, and I'm here with some of my favorite people, Chrissy, Pearl, and Jill. And today we're going to talk about flexible instruction days. They call them FID days. These are these new things that replace snow days, but they can also randomly happen at other times, like when it's too cold or too hot in a school building or on the way to school, or I don't know, like if the flu is really going wild in an area. Now, it's good because it can keep our kiddos on track so that they don't have to extend the school year, but it can also be challenging for parents, especially if you're raising a child with mental health or behavior challenges.
No, today is a FID day, and I didn't know about it until yesterday. Because he's a senior in high school and doesn't tell me, much, but it's a little intense, and there's just a lot of thought that goes behind it. There's just a lot of navigating it. And if you're a working mom or a working caregiver parent, it's very difficult to navigate these days. If you have a neurotypical child, yeah, it might be a little easier. But for those of us that have kiddos with challenges, it's hard. And then my kiddo decides to tell me that he has a toothache, and I checked, and yeah, his wisdom teeth are, a hot mess, and he has a fever. So throw in a medical issue in there, that just throws my whole day.
Girl, I feel that so hard. We never made it back to Christmas break. We were supposed to go back Monday, and they called a FID day Monday. And I was like, okay, we can make it through 24 hours. Nope, called a second FID day on Tuesday. And one of my children was like sick over Christmas break. She turned out to have pneumonia, so she's still home. And you can't. It's impossible with 4 kids here doing FID work to try to work. I took PTO both days. I popped in for important things, like I had a couple calls on Monday, and then I had a meeting with Peyton on Tuesday. But other than that, I took PTO because you can't get the work done with the kids, because I have 2 with ADHD and 1 with an intellectual disability. You can't get it done. You have to sit there. I mean, I probably spent 8 hours doing FID work with them.
And then what do you do if you don't have an employer that's flexible? If you don't have an employer that's flexible, it's very difficult. Not
my
many.
husband,
We're fortunate that.
Yeah, they'd have been like, no way. Tracy's like, oh God, do whatever you have to do. But my husband couldn't have called off. Jill's husband works for himself, and he plows snow. So when he's no help to you during those days.
No, he's not. And just like you said, so our kids were off for 17 days. So, with counting the 2 FID days. And so I have an ADHD OD child who does not like schoolwork at all. So it ends up being a huge fight. And not being mean, it's just not a fight that I choose to have. So I'll set him down. There was no instructions with his FID day packet. Usually, we used to get the papers at the top and told you how to do it. No, it was just like a piece of paper. So he's like, Mom, I don't know how to do this. So I said, well, let's just do something. And so I wrote a little note at the top. We have no clue what we're doing. We're just going to do something with this page. And then my son, who is a little bit, we don't know what he is yet. He just doesn't care about school at all. He's in 2nd grade. God love him. He doesn't have any attention span. He's there for a good time, So I told him to go get his backpack and get his FID packet. He said, I ain't seen it in days. So we didn't even have a FID packet for Teague. So I was making him, he loves to cook. So we made French toast 10 times a day. And I had him count out the eggs and do the measuring cup. And I sent his teacher a message. I was like, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a FID day pack back. Teague hasn't seen his for days, but I did have him reading things. I did have him going outside and playing. I had him counting stuff and measuring stuff. I'm like, there you go. Yeah, I know the concept of it is a good thing. That means we don't have to add on. We don't have to make up the days. And in a perfect situation, and again, if you have a child that's able to sit down and do it, I think it's fabulous. But how many of us really have those kind of kids or those kind of jobs where you can sit at home or send them into a room? And my children are very loud. So even though they were doing it, I'm trying to make phone calls in here, and I'm like whispering to people because those kids are loud. They're in there playing their games, hooting and hollering. So I had to take, I'm like Chrissy, I had to take half days because once they started getting really wound up, I just can't, I don't want them hearing me. I don't want my clients hearing them. You know what I mean?
I liked what you said though. I liked what you said though, Jill, about letting the teacher know. And again, it's about communication. Say, listen, that we are not nobody's perfect. We tried our best, but this is what we did. And as long as there was some kind of instruction in there, I love it. Flexible instruction. We use that we use that term to its maximum today. And you know what?
Yep.
Teague measured, like you said, he measured out some stuff. We learned we look a little bit of measuring with the French toast or whatever. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. I would have been like, you know what? And I think that's what some families have to, we can't be so with our kiddos that have some challenges. We do have to look outside the box. And you know what? If it's too much for you as a parent to try to get that 10-page packet done today, and not just if you have one kiddo, if you've got a couple kiddos, I would do exactly what you did. Yeah, I would do exactly that. That was a great lesson for others.
And what we did, a big thing we did was I kicked him outside and made him go play, shovel the porches, you go do something. And again, I know what the reason for these FID days are. But don't you remember when we were little, the best thing in the world was a FID day? I mean, a snow day. And I think these FID days are taken away from that too.
Yeah, they don't just get a random day where they can veg out, watch, cartoons, hang out, whatever.
I don't even care about them vegging on the couch. I want your butt bundled up like a little snowman and get out there and sled ride. And that's what we did over the weekend. We went sled riding and playing. And, if I have him count how many times he hits me with the snowball, then guess what? We just did math class.
It is a really tough.
That's awesome. That's great.
I hate them. I know
the reason why though we brought this up, that we want to talk about it, is because you guys are really highlighting you are able to work with your school's with your teacher. Now, maybe you don't know yet necessarily, but there are families who are not going to be able to have that grace with their children. And there are teachers who will grade FID day assignments. If your child has an IEP, the accommodations that you are making naturally should be something that is written into the IEP. And that's really why this issue was brought to our attention. Now, technically schools are only supposed to have, I think, maybe 4 FID days a year, but Chrissy brought it to our attention that rural schools can apply for more. So these can be days where if your child is in middle school or, freshman, sophomore in high school, you get these teachers, they don't coordinate with each other to know what everyone is sending home. And they may actually use the child's work as a grade, which could, really cause a lot of challenges. But these FID days aren't being addressed in IEPs. And so we wanted to bring this to the forefront to say to parents, for instance, Jill, if your child had or has an IEP, you can reach out to the school, and when you're rewriting their IEP or reconvene the IEP team to have a meeting, you can say, on FID days, I want it noted that an email has to be sent to me. Or maybe even an email has to be sent at the beginning of the school year, and then I'll just dig through my email to find this, where that's where the assignment needs to be. So that, because if your child has ADHD, are they going to remember to bring home their Chromebook? Can they find their Chromebook? Is it charged? Do they know where their packet is? How about families who don't have a printer? I know if I wasn't working, I would not have a printer. So we just want to make sure that our children who are most at risk and who really, really, really need education are able to get the education and get the accommodations that they need, because a school environment is very different than a home environment. And if you have to sit with your child and keep them on task, and you have other children and a job that you have to do, that needs to be accommodated for your child. So it's great that you guys are all able to make these accommodations. And, I feel your struggle. I could just imagine the struggles that I would have had with 3 kiddos at home trying to manage FID days. But make sure that whatever it is you need, you get written into the IEP, because your child it shouldn't be held against your child if they're not in the environment with the accommodations that they need.
So my boys both have IEPs, and it has been brought up because we all know that I usually don't make them do their FID packets. They get 3 days, and they'll tell you after 3 days after it has to be turned in, and it will be graded, and put in. My kids do get extra time, and I think that because to get Riker to sit down and to do and his is 8 pages long. It's insane. They're insane. And so, and a lot of our kids this year got packets. They did not bring home Chromebooks. I guess Riker told me his class voted. They wanted packets. But again, some of these pages don't have instructions on them. I don't know what we're supposed to do. So I did fight to get more time. So my kids get 10 days to get theirs in. Because if I can do a little bit, Teague, if I can get it a little bit at a time to get Riker to do some stuff, and then a couple pages I'll help him with, then we can probably get it in. But 3 days, and that's another thing. These babies, they have ADHD, so they have a hard time sitting in a classroom with a para sitting beside them, helping them. They don't listen to moms anyways. I know nothing. And they would rather be playing outside. They'd rather be, so I think that the whole situation, just like you said, they're not in the environment, a learning environment. Your kids know when they're in their classroom, sitting at their desk with their teacher and their peers, it's totally different. When you're sitting home at the table and your brother's across the table, you're throwing a crayon at him, you're watching what's on TV, you're looking at the dog under the table. It's just a different environment. And I just feel number one, I never went to school to be a teacher because I have no patience. Number two, it just ends up ugly. It ends up so ugly at my house, and I don't want it. I don't want to end the day screaming and yelling and fighting with them over a math paper. Who did that? Who benefits from that? Not me.
Yeah. I will say, I want to remind our parents that are listening is that you can call an IEP meeting at any time. So I'm glad that we're talking about these FID days, because these are things that I need to address with the families I talk to more. Now that we're kind of bringing it, I have a senior in high school that has a disability. So my other kiddos are here, but they're not in school. So I do have a little bit of help. My husband, we do have a little bit of help, but if I had, when they were younger and we had FID days, that was just challenging. But just remember that you can call an IEP meeting at any time. Don't let the school tell you, oh, well, we have a meeting scheduled in April, we'll address it then. Nope. Because you could have 2 more FID days in between there, and that's 2 days of unorganization and chaos that maybe they can help you with as far as getting something in the IEP.
It's rough, from a parent's perspective, all other things aside, I was a wreck Monday and Tuesday, just a ball of anxiety, probably mean, because I was just so they've been here for so many days.
17. Sorry. 17.
I love our job. It's flexible. Everyone's super cool, but there's a large workload. So it's not a fluffy job, which is the way people sometimes look when you work from home. It's this is not fluffy. I have so much work to do. I can't be sitting here helping you color a pirate ship, my friend. Oh. So it is it takes its toll mentally on parents too. Plus it's the darkest, worst month. January is everyone's, it's the armpit of the calendar, January. And so, we're mid-January, off the Christmas dopamine rush. I'm literally dying. I just want to stare at a blank wall. And then they're oh, you get 2 more days of your children, and your youngest one that has the intellectual disability and the most bad behaviors, you have to sit next to him and hold his hand and do 27 pages of work and get him to take AR tests when he can't comprehend anything that he's reading. So let's do that. And then at the end of the day, you have to still do everything else. So here I am cooking dinner and washing laundry, and I'm just all I want to do is run away.
Yeah, and meanwhile, our house is still a mess from the holidays. Like, I couldn't wait for the kids to go back to school just so I can, like, do a
Clean
couple
up.
loads of laundry, take my Christmas still isn't down because they're here. Take my Christmas down. You know, we need that
A
mental health.
reset. We talked about
Yeah,
that. Like,
I
I
just
could
said
really
that.
use a reset for my own
Yesterday,
like mental.
I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to call off yesterday just for a reset for myself, just to be like, because sometimes I feel like after dealing with my family and all my families, like, who's here to help me? I need an FSP, please.
Yeah, I told Tracy that
Can I
yesterday. I'm
get
like,
an
"Let's try
FSP, please?
FSP because I'm dying here." Poor Peyton, who is the only person on our team that doesn't have children, was catching all of my like fid day frustration. I like snapped the 20 pictures. I'd be like, okay, so this is currently happening. She was cracking up, but at the same time, she did use like some of the material that I sent her in the blog. But it is it is a very tough thing. And I understand that like I'm in a place of privilege here because I have a flexible job, I have a printer, I have internet, we have other extra computers. Like most situations, we
Mm-hmm.
have a leg up even, and it's still really hard. And my
Right.
seventh grader has a 504. She has ADHD, and her teacher's the one specifically I've had trouble with all year, but like was so rough. She got a 68% on one of her fid like assignments, and I did like half of it. So so that's where we're at. Like it's very hard, I feel like.
The struggle is real. I get it. Ugh,
Well,
I
and don't
know.
forget, you know, those 504 plans, you know, if they're flexible instruction days at home, that 504 plan in terms of whatever the child needs to access their education can be done at home. Don't feel like though that you have to do the packets the way they're given to everyone. So if you were talking about, you know, the kiddos reading and having to take a test, maybe the accommodation you could have for instructional days at home is they're going to read the story and then tell me what they read. So that, because, you know, they're not going to have the patience to sit, they don't know how to get themselves online, you know, whatever. So if the goal is, I always look at what is the goal. So if the goal is to know that they understood what they read, if they can tell you, then that should be fine. So remember, the IEP team is very powerful. Whatever you guys decide is the rule. So you can say things like, if you're sending home 18 pages, you know, for a second grader, how likely is it that those 18 pages are going to be able to be done and be done meaningfully? So don't hesitate to go into an IEP meeting and kind of be like, hold up. This is not appropriate for our work environment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
extra time is great, but extra time just means more time that you've got to make out of your regular day to help them catch up on it over the next however many days.
Yeah, who wants to do that on a Saturday morning? I can tell you I don't. And my little one is like a purple minion. It's like trying to get a purple minion to do like 20 math problems. I was one of the things I said to Peyton was like, I feel like a pioneer. Like I'm on day 397, things are becoming desperate. You know, this everything's dark, and she like that's at the end of the last fid day. I felt like, well, I still have a sick one at home. When she goes back to school tomorrow, I may feel like a person again. But right now, I feel like I'm on the edge.
Ugh,
I'm with you. I am.
it's hard.
It was
It's
it was
hard.
a long 17 days. I keep saying that, and like, you know, when I use my microphone, it's bad. It was 17 days.
Captain's log. I have like the tally marks on the wall.
Like prisoners in
Yes.
jail.
Oh my
The little
God.
scratches.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah.
actually
I
that was
know.
quoted in Peyton's article. Was I feel like a prisoner at this current time.
I read that. I think I read that somewhere.
So everyone can look for the article that we have, the blog post that we have on flexible instruction days, and we also talk with an educational advocate who's really the one who brought it to our attention. And I was at a coalition of advocates meeting, and she's like, "Hold up. Who's talking to parents about this? It's getting our children who are already vulnerable. Every day of education, high quality education, is so important for them because they're already starting at such a disadvantage." So she wanted to make sure that our children with disabilities were being accommodated the way they should be. And again, like I said, you may think it's only 5 days, but if your child is doing everything they can to struggle every single day and demonstrate what they know, 5 zeros can be the difference between passing and failing. And we don't want them to fail because the system failed them. So definitely something worth having that, reconvening that IEP team and talking about it, and making thoughtful accommodations, especially if your kid is in a situation where they have multiple teachers, so that the workload is appropriate. And Jill, was it you who I heard talking about, they're sending home like science projects, and who says that I even have all this stuff in my house to do a science project?
That was Chrissy. And that's why I said, like, we have lots of crafts and things, but if you're like, and they were posting, was Miss Cole posting on like the parent thingy, stuff to do. Well, not everybody has that kind of stuff at home. So,
Well, and not everybody has an available parent. Like, I can't, my dad babysits for me. He's a 65-year-old dude. Like, granted, he was an educator himself, but if I was like, hey, you have to do this FID work with the kids, you have to do this science experiment with Hunter, he'd be like, I taught high school driver's ed. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not qualified to do this. So what about that? Like, if I had like a court hearing or something and I couldn't have taken PTO, like, it would have been my dad. How is he going to do that? Or even like we have a lot of grandparents raising their grandchildren that aren't tech savvy. I mean, they do a fine job taking care of the children, but they aren't going to be able to figure out how to navigate, how to print something off of Class Dojo on their phone. It's like, that is difficult for some situations. And so that they have to take that into consideration too. When these kids they're getting graded on this work. What if they can't even access the work because they don't have the adult that's capable in their life to access the work? And that doesn't define like the child being well taken care of just because the grandmother can't print something off of cell phone, and that's tough too.
Well, we didn't have internet, like reliable, good internet out here for a year. And I mean, for the last years when we got it. Before that, they used to send us home little hotspots. They did. It was enough maybe for somebody to get on for a little bit. It was never enough. It wasn't until last summer, last February is what it was. So it'll be a year next month when they finally came through, Verizon came through with that FiOS stuff. So we couldn't even do anything online because we are very, very far out in the country, and my poor kids couldn't do anything. So it would be like, go to the top of the hill because you have to do their attendance for the day. I'd drive to the top of the hill. I'd sign them all 3 in, come right back down and be like, it is. So at least now we do get packets. Your child can choose to get a packet but like they haven't even been letting Teague in 2nd grade, and I don't blame them. Don't get me wrong. They don't even allow him to bring home his Chromebook. When Bubby was taking his AR test, were they the ones online you could take it? I mean, read the book and take the test?
He could do that. They have that option, but he was reading like a paper book, and then we were getting on my iPad and doing the AR tests. But it wasn't mandatory that they do it. It was just like an optional thing. But he was kind of getting on my nerves, so I thought that would be like get something to get him like entertained for a little bit. That wasn't.
You'll have to send me.
He pokes all the other kids and causes ruckus. So I was trying to keep him under control. Like I told you, he's like the purple minion. He's just that's Jill's favorite.
Yes.
Purple minion. Oh.
I love the purple minion. Listen, when I'm at the school, he gets in trouble because he will literally walk out of class and come hug me and kiss me and tell me he loves me in the hallway. Legit, anywhere in class. He could be in the middle of a test and he sees me and he just comes right out.
Love it.
Aw.
Oh.
Well, ladies, hopefully the rest of this winter settles down. Hopefully our snow is over. Pearl, you're in the home stretch. Very shortly you'll see that finish line. So, and in your senior year, lots of kids are phoning it in anyway. So.
Listen, Pearl, you might have to be my support.
Listen, I'm happy to be your FSP. I'm happy to do it. Because I've been through the trenches, but like I said, it was just so ironic that today is a FID day, and I only found out about it like 15 hours ago.
The absolute worst is when they call it like 15 minutes before the kids are supposed to be at school, which is what I thought was going to happen today because we had a 2-hour delay and some of those rural roads are so bad. And I was like, I'm going to get these kids ready for school. I have a full day of work planned. They're going to call that FID as soon as I start my car to take them to school. They didn't actually. They ended up having school. But I thought that was what was going to happen because we last year used our 5 FID days and then they were able to get some kind of like waiver through the state where they got like some extra ones because of the rural area
we don't call them FID. They call them something else in different counties, I guess. I don't know. Some people call them. This is just an asynchronous day because there's Keystone exams or something. But either way, it's the same concept. He's got instruction to do today at home. So, but yeah, now that I have my boss on the phone, I could say, hey, I'm taking a 15-minute break. I got to help my kid.
Right. Well, ladies, thanks for sharing your experiences and your insights. I think that for the other parents who are in the middle of this nightmare, I think it's really important for them to know because so many people, again, you get on social media and you post your highlight reel. You're not telling everybody what the day-to-day looks like. You're not showing people what behind the scenes looks like. So I think it's always really important when we can share with people like the fact that we are melting down when we get that text message or that call that our kiddos don't have school, and maybe you have that moment of joy because you think, oh, it's a snow day and they could be outside building snowmen and sledding and I could get them to shovel, and then they say it's a FID day. So it just kind of takes all that joy of winter, sucks the joy right out of our lives. So
Yep.
and it looks like we're getting hit again this weekend.
This weekend.
It is a weekend. It is a year, isn't it? It's definitely a winter.
The armpit January, the armpit of the
what is it? January 9th?
My birthday's tomorrow. It's not an armpit.
Happy
birthday, Pearl.
Mine is in a couple weeks.
I'll be
We'll
working,
make sure
but
your kid goes to school.
I'm going to make sure that it's not an armpit day. Maybe armpit weekend
It's just
coming
so
up.
dark. February's bad too. I'm a February birthday,
Oh, I
and
know,
it snows
believe
every
me.
year on my birthday. Like,
I know.
and I need to live somewhere warm. I'm Mediterranean. I just need to go back to my homeland. I cannot do this dark, cold crap. I shiver the minute I walk outside.
She said I'm my homeland.
I know. I feel your
You're
pain,
so
ladies. Well, thanks for sharing with us and with our audience. And if you're listening, throw in the comments. Let us know any tips that you have for making it through these unintended, unscheduled days off when we're expected to be both teacher and parent and full-time, part-time, whatever kind of employee somewhere out in the world. We appreciate everybody listening. And thanks so much for your time, ladies. Talk to you soon.
See ya.